Humans of the Cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. I just got back from locals tonight. I actually did really well. Actually 3-0-1, undefeated with Unchained. I made a deck profile last week, though. I don't think that much has changed for me with the deck, but I did get a little bit better with it. I feel a little more comfortable with it this week. Now we're doing a whole profile, but today I actually want to talk about the new Megatins, not necessarily the reprints, but specifically some of the world premiere stuff, because this came so far out of left field to me. I really was not expecting anything like this, but the world premiere cards were just randomly cards of support for TCG exclusive archetypes, right? We have one Noble Knight card, one Time Thief card, and one Spiral card. Now, I don't think these cards are like world breaking for any of these archetypes, taking them to the next level, the next tier. They're back to competitive again. None of that stuff necessarily, but they are still really cool. And it got me thinking, like, what if Konami kind of went on a support spree for all the TCG exclusive archetypes like of all time? That'd be really cool. So that's what I want to talk about here. I have a tier list with like pretty much most, if not all, the TCG exclusive archetypes that you can really consider for this list. I think some of the ones missing are like the super new ones. But to be honest, those are so new I wouldn't even like consider throwing them on the list that like need support anyway. So whatever. But yeah, other than that, you know, these tiers are not super specific here. Top tier, these are going to be like my 3 favorite archetypes that if they got support in the next year, I would even say, and it was like good support, I would be ecstatic for it, and they would have a legit chance to become my current main. So there's that. Cool is just like, obviously, like, it'd be cool to see. I wouldn't be mad about it, but I'm not like over the moon about it. And Need So Much is probably an archetype that would need like legit, 7+ cards to legit like get back to a good place. So, needs a lot. Okay, let's get started here though. B Trooper. This is top tier for me. And you know what the best part about it is? I think they legit need one card. I've talked about this so long. They're one of those archetypes where, because they just kind of play insect good stuff, they have a ton of good main deck options. What they do not have is some extra deck options. They have some cool cards, but what they don't have is a backbone for the deck. Imagine playing Dragon Link, but they never had spheres. So if they ever got nibbed, they literally just like lost for the most part. And they didn't have a backup plan of like, oh, okay, I'll just make spheres. I got Imperm Dash. Oh, that's pretty real. I got Drolled. I'll just end on spheres. That's what this deck needs. They just need spheres. Give me that, and we are in there. Kaijus. I think Kaijus actually be cool. For me, Kaijus is just weird because it's like never been its full-on archetype. I could see them actually getting weird support where like, what if they got a Stratos? So that way not only is it just like a normal summonable Stratos potentially, but you could even Slumber, and if it had Kaiju in the name, like you summon the Stratos, give your opponent a whatever Kaiju, and then you're able to search another Kaiju. It's kind of cool idea. I don't know, like just some cool stuff. They have some good cards, like the field spell is kind of crazy. They could maybe try to do something, but it's just in the cool category for me. Nothing crazy because it's just been an engine. Kind of same idea for Danger, even though it's not more of a defensive side deck engine. It's been more of like a support extending engine, draw engine for decks like Tier Limit, for decks like Dark World in the past. So, it's cool. But I would definitely, maybe they could give them an extra deck monster, like a Link 2, where it takes specifically Dangers. That way you could maybe try to play like an actual really heavy Danger deck if the Link 2 is like actually good enough. That could be kind of interesting. I don't know. They'd have to go weird with it, but it could work. Valkyrie is going to be the first one and needs so much. This deck does so little. It's just so poop. Like, over half the cards are just like unbearably bad. Some of them are interesting, but they still just need so much. They read to me like a hard anime deck, because I believe they are. Just brutal. Just a brutal archetype, to be honest. FAs. I would put FAs in cool. FAs are like weird because I know they have their weird ruling thing where because they modulate their levels so much, like all of your guys are constantly modulating all their levels, and I think there's like some ruling where like legally in an official tournament you're not even allowed to have like counters on your cards, so like it becomes very hard to keep track of all their levels, especially when you have like multiple on field, and it can make for like a lot of huge ruling issues. So like competitively it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I still have always liked the gimmick of the deck. I think it could be fun. It's just, that's kind of a bummer, to be honest, the ruling issues. These fucking guys. Oh my god, I can't even remember their names right now because they're so... Warrock. God, they're terrible. I remember being so excited because I love the design of their archetype, like aesthetically, and then they were just terrible. They're just unbearably bad. They would need a complete revamp. They need to revamp away from the battle phase and all that stuff. They're just terrible. UA for me would be like at the top of cool. I love UA. I'm a big sports fan. I follow multiple different professional sports leagues from the US, so this is like right up my alley. But man, they are so restricted with how the archetype's been designed so far. Their cards aren't unbearably bad, but they would need some very strong cards and multiple to like really get this deck up into like even rogue status. Materiactor, this archetype's just like not even a real archetype. They need so much category there. Plunder is definitely higher tiered cool for sure. I know this archetype's been like decent for like a long while now, but man, I think it's the good kind of decent. Like it's a deck that when you play it and even when you lose to it, you might be frustrated. You're still like, that's a cool deck though. And I'm worried that like as of recently, we finally hit that point where like power creep is starting to really hit Plunder, and Plunder's maybe kind of washed away, pun intended, pretty soon here if they don't get like support from something. Next up we have Mutant. Mutant's another one. You know, it was actually like a fringe rogue strategy. Feels like they're still missing, you know, something for them. They can be a little bit bricky of times because you have to play the main deck boss monsters and stuff, but they still could do some pretty cool stuff overall. Cosmos kind of fall in here as well. My one thing with Cosmos is like, if Konami gave legit good Cosmos support, I think everyone would be pissed because we'd all just be like, this deck sucks to play against. Because Konami making Cosmos good means that they're just even better and spamming big like pseudo towers monsters, and like nobody wants to deal with a deck that can just hella spam pseudo towers monsters. That's just terrible. Excuse me. So yeah, like I don't know. I feel for you because I know there's a lot of people out there who like love Cosmos and like the lore behind it. There's freaking flying around right now, killing me. But yeah. Next up, Dream Mirror needs so much. This archetype, even though this archetype has 1 million cards and the gimmick of the deck is like interesting, the lore of it is interesting, it's just so bad. This archetype is so horrendously bad. It would need so much. They would need to like revamp so many things, give them multiple broken cards. I don't see that being very likely. Vendred is cool, but to me, it's like Vendred will like always be a worse zombie deck, or even probably like a worse ritual deck. If you're like forcing like Vendreds in, it's either like a small package because it can be like potent in like small doses, in which case it's not even really a Vendred deck. If it's a full-on Vendred deck, it's probably just a worse ritual deck than Drytron, and probably a worse zombie deck than just like a straight up zombie deck you could be playing. So it's kind of like meh. BA is definitely top tier for me. I think this is cool. I think BA still has some cards that like the way they work can work, but they haven't gotten the right kind of support to allow them to kind of like help function. And as time has gone on and they've not gotten like a ton of cards, right? They got like Cherubini, which is nice. The bigger issue with the deck is that like we've gotten other archetypes that were like close to maybe working with BA, but because of the main deck BA monsters destroying themselves whenever any non-BA is on the field, has been like a real downer and really has gotten in the way of the deck actually trying to combine with other decks. So maybe with the perfect kind of support they could kind of bypass that, but you know, it is what it is. I'd still like to see them get that support. I love Fiends. They're cool. And lastly, and obviously, the whole reason I made this video was just to give myself another opportunity to talk about Subterror. It's probably my favorite deck of all time if you were to ask me overall. Aesthetically, I love it. I adore it. In terms of the playstyle, I love it. I love the gimmick behind the deck as well. Well, you know, in terms of playstyle, I like the way that like the Subterror cards work. But as far as the deck goes competitively, I haven't liked the play style in a couple years. I don't want to play Dragoon. I don't want to play 1,000,000 Floodgates. That's super, super boring. So my idea for the deck is something not too far away from Altergeist. We've seen this, right? Altergeist, where everyone hated playing against Altergeist because you knew they were going to set 4, set 5, and pass, and that's terrible. It's annoying to deal with. Multi-Fakers of Pain. And now they're like this 2-card combo deck that like maybe plays a control game, but like they're not setting 4 or more very often. It's more so setting 2, maybe 3. And they're doing combos to get to it. So you have opportunities to hand trap them to keep them from getting all the way there. It's really nice. It really is. And that's kind of what I want to see here. I don't want to go all the way to the point where Subterra becomes like a full-on like 2-card combo deck, kind of like what Altergeist kind of is in this weird form. But I do want to see them get some cards that actually push them 2 to 4 cards that kind of push them into a more mid-rangey strategy. So much to so that where we would actually want to cut down on floodgates because we want to make room for actual extra good engine cards that are just more worth it, as well as if we're special summoning, we can't play a Dragoon package anymore. Just scrap the Dragoon package. That would be really sweet. And just allow us to play like an actual mid-range Subterra version. And I think one of the biggest tells is that like Subterras have a couple of really nice cards that nobody plays because the deck is too slow. The deck doesn't do enough engine-wise. You can't set these cards up fast enough, right? Phosphoro Glacier. This card is a Foolish Burial for literally any card in your deck. Umastrix, obviously, getting a banish every time he's flipped face up. And Ultramaphus. He is a Book of Moon for every monster on the field. These are some pretty powerful effects, but because the deck doesn't have the engine cards to support them, you can't even worry about it. And don't even get me started on Subterra Nemesis Warrior. That card is so freaking cool, but we haven't had a variant that can even try to, make use of that card in so long. But I'd love to. He's actually a legit cool card. So yeah, I really want to see some Subterra support in one way, shape, or form. I'd love to see like a legit good like extending spell. That would be really, really sweet. I'd love to see an extra main deck monster that really helps push like really good extending monster that like if you control a Subterra or a face down monster, like it summons and then maybe gets you access to like something else in the Subterra archetype. Like, give them some good engine cards, please. So that way, like, it'll be more fun to play against. Like, this is a deck where, like, why can I not play Book of Moon and Book of Eclipse in this deck? It's because the deck's just already too slow that it doesn't even make use of the synergy that well. Like, if this deck was actually more of a mid-range deck, we could be using those cards to, like, actual benefit to the deck. But we haven't been able to yet. So, come on, Konami. Come on. Do it for Subterra one time. Do it for these 3 archetypes one time. Give me a good Link 2 here. Give me something for VA. Give me some Subterra engine cards, please. But that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching, guys. As always, subscribe to the channel for more stuff down the line. Let me know your top 3 for TCG exclusive archetypes, what you would want to get good support so that it became playable again or more so. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that down below. Thank you so much for watching, as always. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.